Welcome to the Back Chatter Podcast. I'm Bryan Elaine, and today I won't be joined by Adam at all. Yeah, that's right. It's a Bryan solo pod. Sorry to disappoint, but Adam and his lovable brand of anti-improv, no-butt biting snark will be back for our next episode in 2 weeks. In today's episode, we're going to take a trip down memory lane. We're going to have a little something in here for the gearheads as well, as I talk about a driver fitting that I had about 2 months ago with my buddy Ricky Klein up at Sittler Golf in Berks County, PA. Now, I've been seeing Ricky for fittings since way back in the Hosel Jockeys days. Although, funny enough, this was my first actual driver fitting with him. Over the years, I've taken at least a half a dozen people there for fittings because he always does such a good job. And this is not an ad, by the way, at all for Sittler Golf, but if you're anywhere near the area, they are worth the visit. But before we get to the fitting, let's take a moment for a brief history segment that nobody asked for, called Drivers Bryan Has Gamed. In the late 90s, when I first started playing golf, I needed a driver. That's when I noticed an ad in a golf magazine for Warrior Custom Golf. The clubs looked legit and way less expensive than your typical big box brands, so I ordered a driver and 2 fairway woods. Now at this point in my golf game, I was just trying to break 100, so the bar was pretty low for what I needed out of a golf club. I basically just needed it to be a golf club and stay a golf club, which unfortunately for Warrior Custom Golf was a bar too high. The week before I got married, in August of 1999, I had a bunch of my friends join me at a local driving range for a bachelor party of sorts. Not everyone had clubs, so I let people use anything in my bag that they wanted. I was taking a break on one of the benches when my friend Than took a swing with my Warrior Custom Golf 5-wood, and much to my surprise, and his, the head of the club broke off after contact and flew 40 yards into the range. He looked at me in disbelief. I looked at him in disbelief. Then I looked to my left to see if anyone else on the range had seen it happen. No one had, because they were all swinging golf clubs, including my friend Matt, who was mid-swing with my Warrior Custom Golf 3-wood. You're probably not going to believe this, but I promise you I am not making this up. As he connected with the ball, the head of that 3-wood also broke off and flew into the driving range. Now, mind you, these were new-ish, but not brand new. I had probably played a round or two with these clubs at this point, maybe a handful of range sessions as well. But I remember thinking 3 things in that moment. Number 1, everyone is going to think I am embellishing this story when I tell them that within a 7-second window, 2 of my fairway wood heads broke off. Number 2, considering this was the week I was getting married, I am so thankful that I am familiar with the old Portuguese saying that goes, and I'll translate it into English here, 1 golf club breaks, and marriage should be greatly feared. 2 golf clubs break, you'll be happy for 100 years. Finally, the third thing I thought in that moment was, I think I need a new driver. Side note, Warrior Custom Golf refused to refund my money, and the customer service rep actually asked me on the phone if I had been, quote, hitting rocks with the clubs, unquote. Yeah, good times. I actually had a buddy who was in law school at the time write me a very legal-sounding letter that I sent to Warrior, and wouldn't you know it, I got all my money back. I don't remember what driver I gamed immediately following that Warrior debacle, but sometime around 2007, I got my first real big boy driver. A Christmas gift from my in-laws. It was the TaylorMade R7 Super Quad, their first driver with movable weight technology. I don't remember really being fitted for it, and I had no idea what I was doing with the movable weights, but it was a huge improvement as I battled a duck hook through those early years of my golf career. I gamed that driver for almost a decade, but honestly, for most of that time, I wasn't playing a ton of golf. I had a long commute to work, 2 kids, an addiction to modified pitch softball, blah, blah, blah. But then, in 2015, I started to get the golf bug. And I went for my first real driver fitting at a golf shop that actually doesn't exist anymore. And the driver he fit me into, the Ping G30. Sure, it made an awful sound when you hit it, but it was a much better fit for my swing, and with that driver in the bag, I finally broke 80 for the first time. In fact, Can we roll the footage? Can we go back to August 30th, 2016? Me and my good friend Tyler Stanton, Hosel Jockey Season 1, Episode 37. Last Saturday. So that was my 77.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. I
don't know if you guys caught that.
I broke 80.
Bryan Elaine comes in here with a story about almost breaking 80, doesn't do it, and then what? 3 or 4 days later?
Yeah, a week
shattered.
later.
You shattered 80.
I can't remember now. It's all a blur.
I just remember getting a notification on. Maybe you texted me. I can't remember if you texted me or if I got it on Grant, but it was like I couldn't believe it. It was not just like, hey, Bryan shot a 79. He finally did it. No, he shattered it and shot a 77. Jeez.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to get back out there after the Snickers debacle because I was just feeling it. I just was feeling real confident about my game. I've been driving the ball better than I ever had before, and I played great. I was not feeling any pressure, and
man, it's glorious.
So fast forward about 4 years from that 77, and I was ready once again to shop for a new driver. I had been taking lessons with Robbie Rao at Bent Creek Country Club, and he was convinced that my swing speed had outgrown the head and shaft combo in my G30. I remember one lesson in particular where he popped into the pro shop to grab a new tailor-made sim driver with a Project X hazardous green smoke stiff shaft, and instantly the TrackMan informed me that I had gained over 25 yards with a tighter dispersion. Needless to say, by the end of that season, I had my own sim in the bag. But 2 years later, in March 2022, thanks to an opportunity presented me by my good friends Mike and Eli from Chasing Scratch, I found myself in Oceanside, California at TPI being fit for a new TSR3 driver. Now, if you've been listening to Bag Chatter since the beginning, you know this because I talked about it in episode 5 of season 1. In fact, here's a 2-minute clip of me telling Adam about how that fitting started. But first, I grab my gamer, take 3 swings. What was interesting were they may have been the 3 best driver swings that I took the whole day. That's maybe overselling.
That's great, though. I think that's great, though. You want to start.
Yes, 100%. And he later on, and I have some audio that I'll intersperse in here that I took. Hopefully the quality's good enough. You actually will hear him say that at one point, like, I want to try to beat your best. I had a really tight dispersion with my gamer. I had 3 really good swings, and then it was all about just trying to see if we could put something together to catch up to that, basically, which was really fascinating.
How far did you hit those 3?
253 carry, 279 overall, 15 degrees of launch, and 1800 to 1900 spin.
Okay.
I have some audio of this whole process. I'll try to put some clips in here as we talk about this, but I'm just going to go through my notes and read some of the stuff. The 15 degrees of launch angle, a little touch high perhaps, 1800 to 1900 on the spin, a little low. You kind of would rather be in that 22 to 2400 range.
Ball speed over in mid 149 there for us.
Okay.
So you're picking up a little bit more club speed as you get loose here.
Okay.
At 252 carry, 253 carry on average right now, 279 overall. So our launch is up in 15, spin is up in 19.
Okay.
I'd like to see that come a little bit tighter. I'd like to see our spin come up a little bit and our launch come down a touch for us.
Okay, yeah, 103 club heads. That's about what you would have asked me. That's about what I would have guessed. So that's good. What was interesting is that I went in telling him I tend to smother my driver sometimes, as you have told me before.
Yes.
My angle of attack at some points over the last couple of years, I have not had an upward angle of attack on my driver, which I know is terrible. The good news, my angle of attack with consistently on all my driver swings was 3 to 4 degrees up.
That's great.
So, yeah, Eric said that was pretty darn good. So we just kept taking 3 to 4 swings, and he'd keep changing things. I tried the TSR2 head. Then we went back to the TSR3. I think with the TSR3, I was getting a smash factor of like 1.5. The smash factor with the sim, with the gamer, was 1.48, which you want to be right up at 1.5. And I think anything over 1.5 is like illegal. So my club head speed with those first three was 103 miles an hour, and my ball speed was 149. So that's kind of important. I don't know if you caught this, but Adam and I, a couple of years ago, used to talk about how sometimes it looked like I was smothering my drives. And as best as I can recall, this was a term we used based on two factors: the way my swing looked, but also my ball flight. Because at the end of the previous season and at the beginning of that season, I had been pulling a lot of drives dead left. The next clip you'll hear is my fitter Eric talking about where we landed with the fitting and what my numbers were, and then me summarizing things for Adam. I want you to pay attention to what is said about the left miss, because it's a very important detail with regards to where this story is headed.
We're looking at roughly being in the same yard house there.
Okay.
Everything that we're seeing distance-wise for us, however, we're taking that left miss out of play.
Yep.
So that spinning 1900 that we're seeing goes away when we're at 24. So 1915 versus 24 and 14 is a little bit better there for us.
Okay.
So you're not going to see that pull hook quite as often unless that kick face is just shut.
Yep. So at the end of the day, with the shaft and head combination that we settled on, I was getting a 14-degree launch angle, which is kind of ideal, and 2400 on the spin, which, again, is kind of ideal. My ball speed was 150. With the sim, It was 149. But here's the thing. My club head speed was 101. So I had fatigue to the point where I was losing a couple of miles of club head speed, but I actually had 1 mile per hour faster of ball speed. I had better, slightly better launch, slightly better spin numbers. I think at the end of the day, that driver head combination is going to be better for me. I had like 60 swings. I don't think I missed left once, which was really interesting. And he kind of talked about that throughout, about how we're sort of, with this combination, we're eliminating the left miss. You know, I think if I'm putting the same swing speed on the ball with my combination of TSR3 versus my sim, I think it's going to be, I might gain about 5 yards. But I think the better spin numbers and the better launch numbers are also going to help me with dispersion too. So it was really fascinating, the whole process. I talked to a bunch of people afterward, and almost everybody had crazy improvement stories. But at the end of the day, Eric told me, he's like, yeah, your gamer is like, even though you didn't get fit for it, it's pretty good for you. And he's like, I can't put you into that same shaft because Project X doesn't make or whoever owns Project X, they don't make that hazardous green smoke anymore for Titleist. He's like, this is the closest thing I can get to you. He's like, but I like the numbers better for what we fit you for slightly than what your gamer was. For me, the question is now going to be, do I want to upgrade the driver for the price that it's going to cost to upgrade the driver? Right. You know, knowing there are going to be some gains in yards and in dispersion, but not big gains. That's the question that's keeping me up at night, Adam. So I was obviously kind of joking about the decision keeping me up at night, and I did end up buying the TSR3. Do I regret it? Absolutely not. I played the best golf of my life with that driver in the bag, including breaking par for the first time ever last season and getting my handicap all the way down to a 4. But despite all that, it wasn't all roses and azaleas. The driver produced a very consistent left-to-right ball flight, which was good, mostly thanks to my not-so-ideal 8-degree out-to-in swing path. But of course, some days the fade turned into a massive slice. User error? Absolutely. But the more it started happening, the more I wondered if my club head and shaft combo were maybe not so ideal for my present swing. I had band-aids, of course, that I could fix it during a round. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. But honestly, the biggest saving grace for me was the course that I played most of my rounds at. You can spray the ball off the tee at Honeybrook. And spray it I did. Wide open tee boxes on most of the holes let me set up as far left as I needed to feel comfortable. And some days I played my approach into 9 from 18, my approach into 12 from 18, and my approach into 18 from 12. Honeybrook lets you get away with that. But as most of you know, I'm at Media Heights now, a course with many more trees, and out of bounds right on 5 of the first 10 holes. Let me repeat that for the people in the back. Out of bounds right on 5 of the first 10 holes. Why are you at media, Bryan? Why are you so stupid, Bryan? These are the questions you might have. Well, I'm there for the pool. I'm also there for the people. The more of them I meet, the more I like the place. And honestly, the course is growing on me too, though I still think they need to remove about 60% of the trees out there, but we'll save that for another pod. Like I was saying, the right miss off the tee is much more of a problem at media heights. In fact, as I record this, I just finally lost all of my 2024 rounds from my most recent 20 for handicap purposes, and I'm currently sitting at a soft-capped 8.3. I haven't been an 8 for a few years, and I don't love it. But when you can barely break 80 at a course with a rating that's 1.5 strokes under par and a slope of only 129, that's exactly who you are.
The Bears are what we thought they were. They're what we thought they were. We played them in preseason. Who the hell takes a third game in the preseason like it's bull? We played them in the third game. Everybody played 3 quarters. The Bears are who we thought they were. And that's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown them. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
Thanks, Coach.
So with all the good stuff I had heard about the GT driver over the past year, I felt like it was time to visit Ricky up at Sittler again. I made an appointment back in April to see him for a GT fitting. Now I wish I had turned the mics on right away, but I did about halfway through the fitting, when the main issue with my current driver setup had become abundantly clear. Namely, the TSR3 had too much side spin. Why? Well, because I had told that fitter 2 years earlier that I struggled with sometimes smothering the ball and hitting pull hooks dead left. Remember what he said at the end of that fitting? We've taken out the left miss. He kind of did what I asked him to, but in doing so, it was very difficult for me to square the club face. On the good days, it was a controlled fade. On the bad days, especially at media heights, it was a nightmare. Ricky had me hit the GT2 and the GT3 with different shafts, and right away I could feel the difference with shafts that weren't quite as stout.
That was a good shot.
Yeah, that was... I could definitely feel the difference in the slightly whippier shaft for sure. It's a feeling that I don't feel with the other one at all. After a few different combinations, Ricky noted that my current TSR3 was definitely ideal for launch and backspin, but the open club face that I could not close was negating all of the good.
Like, your best spin profiles have been with your driver. The only downside with your driver was that open face. So from what I've seen so far, my next step was actually like, let's put a different shaft in it and see what happens. Now, I was just looking at some numbers real quick. That shaft combination at 8 degrees, look at what side spin was on those last 2 shots.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, now, they were a little toe, but like when you hit your toe shot with your driver, that's when spin came down. The problem is when you hit toe shot with your driver, your spin was 776. Mm-hmm. This one was still 1700.
Oh, wow.
So spin was 1,000 RPMs higher, hitting pretty much the same strike point on the face. So that is a little intriguing to me. Because we got, like, that was kind of our whole goal at this point, is to try to get side spin down.
Yes.
So when I gave you GT3, we pretty much more see what you have, right? Normal GT2 reduced side spin, but the total spin was still too high because the loft was too high. So going GT2 in 8 degree, now we didn't hit center yet, but like toe shots should be lower spinning. Mm-hmm. So if we see toe shot be in the 1800 RPM range, in theory center strike should be like right in the 2s.
Okay.
So
love that.
What I would want to do after seeing that is I would recommend let's hit like another 2 or 3 with that combination of the 8 degree.
Yeah.
Because I was agreeing with you, and then I'm like looking at the numbers, and I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. That actually did exactly.
Yeah.
It launched high. Don't get me wrong, Brett. Wrong.
Yeah.
But you swing up at the golf ball, so as long as you're averaging 3.5 degrees up, your launch angle is going to naturally be higher.
Okay.
Now, normally when you launch it high, spin also goes high. Seeing the spin actually stay low is like, well, Well, that's a dream. So, like, remember, we talked descent angles. We said Titleist talks about them. I actually talk about a lot with driver. My goal with descent angle is to be about 33 to 38 degrees, roughly. Depending, different golfers, we were aiming for different stuff. So your driver, your descent angle was averaging 42 degrees.
Okay.
Too high. That's like trying to land a ball on a green from 220 out.
Right.
And you're doing it with a driver, so that means the ball's not rolling out as far, right? Now we're actually at 35 degrees with what we just saw.
Okay.
So, and you can see light blue is this one. Red was your driver. Dark blue was the 9-degree version.
Wow. Okay, yeah.
So that GT2 8-degree is like different.
In a good way.
In a good way.
So we were pretty sure at this point that the GT2 8-degree head was best for me, but he still wanted to dial in the shaft.
I'll take that in a heartbeat.
That's just like... It's like, oh, I am capable of starting the ball a little left.
Well, when you have a head that's not designed to open. So that one, you hit the center. Yay, we did it, right?
Yeah.
But what's really cool is when you look at where they are out there, look at where the 3 teal balls are.
Wow.
They're all in the same damn spot. And what's cool is we hit center there, but your backspin was 2100.
Yeah.
That's right where we want to be. If anything there, you actually hit the ball too low.
Huh.
That's not a statement you hear very often,
No.
so...
That felt like a totally miss, but it's in the middle of the fairway.
And it's going forever. Look how far that goes.
Yeah.
You one hop over that fence out there.
Yeah, 20 millimeters to the toe.
Welcome to
And
forget. Ooh, that is quite ridiculous. And I took out the worst shot with yours. This is the comparison between your driver and this one. So spin went from 3,200 to 1,800, but standard deviation went from 700 to 200, and your carry distance went up from 227 to 249, with a standard deviation going from 11 to 5. And the really scary part is because you're slightly missing it on the toe occasionally.
Yeah.
Your club head speed is about the same. Your ball speed is down 1.5 miles, but because we made every other number better, the ball goes 22 yards further in the air.
Ricky then put my current TSR3 driver back in my hands, and while I hit a good one with it, it was clear that the good one with the old setup couldn't compare to the new GT setup he was building.
You just had your lowest side spin with your driver, and it was 859, so you're averaging a third of side spin.
Wow.
That's stupid.
Wow.
And you just arguably hit your best drive with it, right? You're like, oh, I would take that, no problem, 245 carry, 2,400 spin, but it went 40 yards right. Your rights with the other combo is 27-17, 27-30.
Wow. Yeah, and we're talking about managing misses, and that was not a miss.
Your average shot offline with your driver was 49 yards right. This one's 25 yards right.
Yeah.
Standard deviation with yours was 14 yards. This one's 5 yards. My managing misses is getting standard deviation to be as low as possible. Yeah. That's what's going to create consistency. And that was the thing is that was a fantastic drive with yours, right? Like you'd be like, oh yeah, I take that. That was great. You hit it. I was like, oh yeah, there it is. And then when the data comes out, it's like, oh crap, that wasn't even as close to as good. Right. So your best shot with your driver was like worse than the average shot with the other one. So ultimately, up to you what you do.
Yeah, no, I'm
that's intriguing to me.
That is. And it was intriguing to me as well. If by intriguing, you mean an overwhelming mountain of evidence that had already made up my mind. So we spent the next 10 minutes talking about some of the issues I should try to clean up in my swing, specifically my tendency to get my weight out on my toes sometimes as I early extend. I took a few swings with the exaggerated feel of keeping my weight on my heels more to stay more balanced, and the good ones were pretty good. Like I said, Ricky is the best. How was that last final ball that I hit there? Because it felt
great.
Another good one.
9 yards offline.
Yeah.
Here's your strike location with this driver.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
Those last two where I was doing that exaggerated feel, like I was
Two-
like, oh, the ball is actually starting where I intended it to start. With
If you
just
think
a
about
little
it,
bit
if your
of
hips
side
stay back, you have room to clear your hands,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then you could also, we could eventually get you to swing on plane. Part of your out to in is because your hips go forward and you're on your toes, you're going around your body.
Yeah.
And I find, so when people really extend, whatever your natural is, if you go too far into out or too far out to in, you're just going to go more in whatever natural direction it is because you're going around your body, right?
Yeah.
But once you get your hips out of the way, you could actually train your arms to come in the right spot. So quotations, the slot.
Yes.
Yeah, you can only hit the slot if you have room in the slot. If your hips get in the way in the slot, you can't hit the slot. Turns out, right?
Yep.
So that last shot, 2,300 spin, 12-degree launch, 9 yards offline, 255 carry. It was your best drive of the day. It's furthest drive of the day, 150 ball speed. That's the first time you hit in the 150 ball speed, but your club head speed was 105.5.
Yeah.
So you got faster. And these ones right here are all those strikes there were when we were practicing feeling like you're on your heels.
Yeah.
So compared to just normal Bryan, this is normal Bryan and new Bryan, right? New Bryan with keeping your weight on your heels, we actually see shots going off to the left.
Yep.
Can you still go to the right? Yeah. Because do you think we're doing it every single time? No.
Right. Yeah.
But the potential of that, you never sniffed it that straight as the last one, right?
Yeah.
Not once. But with this head, we're able to get spin in the right spot.
Yeah.
Compared to yours. Knowing that you missed to the right, that spin getting up like that is where it just keeps going away from you on a miss hit.
Okay.
Yeah. So that would be, I'll write all that down,
Okay.
but that would be my leading combination for you.
The GT2 8-degree head with the Ventus Blue and the A1 setting.
A1, I was messing around with different settings, but
Yeah.
some of that also just has to do with that early extension thing. So we probably adjust that as you get your hips in a better spot.
Okay.
So there you have it. That is the newest chapter in a story you never asked for. I was fit into the Titleist GT2 8-degree head with a Ventus Blue stiff shaft. I've already got it in the bag, and early returns are very promising. I'm a few range sessions and a few casual rounds in, and while I'm not hitting it perfect, it is a marked improvement over my last gamer. The question is, will I be able to dial it in and turn it into an even better weapon than my TSR3 was when I was hitting that well? More importantly, will I be able to play the first 10 holes at media without losing a bunch of balls OB right, especially during big club competitions like the upcoming member guests that Adam is joining me for? And honestly, even if I can keep the driver in play, will that be enough to help us win our flight? I mentioned that I'm currently around an 8 handicap, but the way media does their member guest, you play off your low cap for the last 12 months. That means I'll be playing as a 4. And Adam will be playing off of a 0.1. Honestly, the way I've been playing lately, that does not bode well for our chances. Or maybe, just maybe, it's setting up an incredible story. You'll find out how that went in 2 weeks as we recap the Media Heights member guest in episode 7. See you then. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We are so grateful for all of you. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at BagchatterGolf or Bryan Elaine Golf. If you've got a question you want answered in a future mailbag episode, or if you're a brand looking to partner with us, send us an email at bagchattergolf@gmail.com. Music credits can be found in the show notes, and of course, we'd love for you to give this podcast a positive review and rating wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes. Last but not least, don't leave yourself too much bone meat on putts, and as always, get out there and make those ham. We'll catch you next time.
So strong.